Cable TV is dead. You could still subscribe, you could still get it, but for how long? These companies are frantic to win back market share to disruptive streaming services like Netflix and Hulu. I say rightly so. Let the cable companies die or evolve their business model. I'm a cable company. I'm a cable cutter. I have not had cable for about 4 years now, and I couldn't be happier. I remember watching my favorite programs, and you and your family receive 10 minutes of show and 20 minutes of commercials in a sitting. You want to watch Showtime or HBO? That's another fee. You want to watch a DVR? That's another fee. You want to travel? You miss your favorite show. Cable companies want more and more profit. Their shareholders demand it. The business has to grow. If they don't increase costs to the customer, then how do they increase profits? They sell off airtime to Downey or Lowe's or pharmaceutical companies. What if your internet worked in a way that was similar to TV right now? We all get ads on the internet, but what happens when you pay extra for Netflix? What happens when you have to pay extra for Facebook access? What happens when you watch commercials before the ISP will give you your internet access? These are all things that ISPs want to do to your internet right now. And net neutrality is a thing that used to stop them from doing this. It may seem like you shouldn't care about net neutrality. However, this is an issue that will affect your daily life when it goes away. You might be thinking right now, how does this guy know anything about this? Who is he to tell me that I need to care about net neutrality? Well, my name is Justin Pedersen. I am a resident nerd, geek, weirdo, etc., etc. I'm the network coordinator from Casper College. I provide internet service to about 400 students on campus and have about 1,000 to 5,000 people using my network every day. I know the technical bits of these systems and how easy it would be to implement the possible bad outcomes I just listed. First, I think that it's important for us to take a step back and look at what net neutrality is. According to a 2017 journal Review of Industrial Organization, and I quote, net neutrality is, at its heart, about how the provider of an upstream good interacts with the provider of downstream goods. I would add that this quote by saying that these goods are referring to internet-related products. For example, Netflix provides a service that is only reachable via the internet. In order to reach Netflix, you would have to buy internet services from a provider, your ISP. Netflix is downstream from the ISP. There are certain goals one might have when looking at this dynamic. For instance, one might think that whoever pays for infrastructure would get the most quality goods. However, some might turn this on its head and thinking that the rich or powerful in these relationships should subsidize the poor or the weak parties. This is the debate we find ourselves in when we talk about net neutrality. The gatekeepers of these relationships is the FCC, or Federal Communications Commission. A short history is in order of the FCC and net neutrality. According to the Review of Industrial Organization, the FCC implemented the Open Internet Order in 2015. The journal continues on page 389 to state there were two main steps that were important to the theory of net neutrality, as seen by the Commission at the time. The first was to make the internet service providers into a utility. The FCC used the term common carrier to describe the relationship that the internet service provider would have with its customers. The next step involves defining a quoted from the journal one version of net neutrality, which limits the way which ISPs can interact and manage their internet traffic. Now that we know what this debate is about, I think it's important to illustrate why it has made its way into the zeitgeist of politics. I don't know if anyone noticed, but we had an election in 2016. The results ended with a change in thinking on this issue especially. The argument from the new chair at the FCC, Ajit Pai, is that the 2015 ruling to go to utility role for ISPs is stifling innovation. At the time of this writing, the FCC website currently has a page called Restoring Internet Freedom. In this video and text, Pi continuously uses metaphors or verbiage that makes the designation of ISPs as utility providers sound like a disaster. For example, the text on this page uses a sentence starter of "in place of that heavy-handed framework," or it tries to make the new regulation sound better with the phrase like "light touch framework." He uses the history of the internet as a weapon to justify what he and his FCC is doing with net neutrality. When the election took place, Ajit Pai's appointment to the role of the SEC chairman was a controversial choice to begin with. Hal Bergel wrote an article on the IEEE Explorer Journal named Net Neutrality Reloaded, illustrating the history of Ajit Pai. According to this article, Ajit Pai was a former attorney with Verizon, a company with a huge stake in net neutrality. The ethical issue, conflict of interest, is a serious problem with Pai's appointment. The issue only made worse by Ajit Pai's beliefs. The article calls Pai's approach to net neutrality faith-based, alluding to the fact that Ajit Pai would like the market to regulate themselves. Interestingly, this brings me back to one of my starting points. The FCC let cable companies regulate themselves, and look what happened. Because the regulations don't try to protect consumer interests, the cable companies were able to run wild, with boosting profits at any cost. Also, these companies were able to produce an oligopoly, where regionally there was little to no competition. Under these kind of rules or regulations, businesses will find a way to create monopolies and take advantage of their stakeholders. This leaves us with a broken internet, a place that doesn't foster innovation. So what can we do to prevent a path away from net neutrality? The article, International Journal of Communication, named A Curious Tale of Economics and Common Carriage at the FCC, a reply to Faulbauer, Singer, and Urschel, tells a story of current FCC that doesn't care about what the people have to say. In fact, the article states that the FCC used pleas from over 4 million people are only evidence that the change away from common carrier designation needs to move forward to protect the internet. The damage is currently done. The FCC will not listen to the public input. Voting is the key. Make an open internet a priority with your vote. The 2018 elections are a great avenue to make sure that the message is sent to powers that be that we don't accept an internet run by corporations. This is our individual outlet. What has happened is that the ISPs that advocate for this internet have almost won. Net neutrality has been announced to end. You could see these changes start happening in as little time as April 23rd. We live in an information age. We are choosing to end this point in history by not advocating for this issue. The internet really has brought us so much. Knowledge is so accessible because of the internet. More and more remote work is becoming a major industry. Cat videos entertain the masses. What happens without net neutrality? Would you pay a CEO bonus for you to watch cat videos? Would you pay an ISP shareholder to learn a new task? I leave you with these thoughts. Thank you very much.